All right, welcome back to another edition of Whatchu Spinnin. This is episode 13. Uh, as per usual, joined by the usual cast of characters. We've got Matt rocking a beautiful Fear and Loathing hoodie, Jacob fresh off of killing a shift, and George over there with some new looking headphones and a very nice periwinkle long sleeve shirt. Um, just a quick little thing. We're, as you noticed, kind of with episode 10 being Alchemist Day. Any episode that ends with a 5 or a 0 might not happen every single time, but we're going to try to do something like a theme kind of day. So episode 10 was Alch Day. Episode 15, we're going to be doing all instrumental albums. I'm really excited to see what we managed to yank out of our bags with that. With that being said, how are we doing, folks?
Doing great.
Ready.
Excited to talk about all the music. These picks that we all chose are just, great topics of discussion. So I think we all did well with, perusing our inventory and making a selection. So I'm excited.
Good stuff this week.
Yeah. With that, who do we want to have go first?
I'll start off.
Okay, cool. Matt, what did you have for us this week?
This week I chose an album from an Icelandic band called Sigur Ros. It's their second album, and I'm gonna, butcher the pronunciation, but Aegtis byrjun. Is the title of the album, and a very different style of music for people that haven't kind of ventured out into music outside the United States. It's all done as Icelandic. They actually kind of made up their own language called Hopelandic for this album. So they kind of combined their own like language with Icelandic language and like came up with something. So a lot of it's just kind of different sounds and stuff like that, but one of my favorite albums, just because it kind of represents me. I have a tattoo from one of the inner album sleeves here. I'll show that off a little bit.
Dope. That's it.
And I can distinctively remember hearing this album for the first time here in Eugene back in 2003 with a friend and an ex-girlfriend, and we were in a Borders parking lot when Borders was still a thing over by Oakway. And I remember hearing track 2, the Seven G Englar track, and just being like captivated. Like I'd never heard anything like it, and it just kind of blew my mind. And I became a fan instantly. And once I started diving into the catalog, I saw that image from that album, and I was like, you know what? If I like that image 10 years from now, I'm going to put it on my skin. 10 years passed, and I put it on my skin. So it means a lot to me, but I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say about it.
Listening to this was really like I don't know how to describe it. It's like there's a lot of depth to it. Like it's big. Like it's really like dramatic. I could easily like see this like on a movie or something. And I think coming from Iceland, whenever I'm like listening to this album, like I'm picturing mountains in like Iceland. Like it literally fits Iceland so well. I didn't know that they made their own like language for this. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, it was just really dramatic, and I like music that inspires me to do something creative. And this is an album that makes me want to record a video, like a moody video with their music. Super awesome.
Yeah, dude. How did you find this out, man? Because
a friend of mine
I've never looked this up. I've never have like seen this. It's fucking crazy, man. But
it was just brought up to me by a friend. Like I had no idea. Yeah, it was just like luck of the draw.
Yeah, if you didn't introduce this to me, Matt, I don't think I would have ever found out about this, honestly. Um, but dude, it's fucking dope. It feels like it fits in like movies and stuff and like soundtracks to movies. Has it been in movies? Like, because I haven't looked.
It was pretty prominent in back when the Vanilla Sky, that Tom Cruise movie that came out years ago.
Oh.
It's in a Bill Murray movie. What's that movie called? Where they're like a submarine, it's a comedy. It's been featured through lots of different movies.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I could definitely tell because like some of the songs feel like they're like from a soundtrack, like from a movie. 'Cause they're like some of them, it's real. What's the word? What's the word I could put? It's like kind of like euphoric, you know. Like it's some of them, like it's. It was funny this morning before I went to work. I woke up kind of early, so I was just listening to our albums, and I was listening to this album, and I put down my yoga mat and started meditating to it.
Nice. Very good.
And dude, it's like some good stuff, man. Like made me feel like real relaxed. Like it just had me in my thoughts, like, you know, like George said, like picturing like landscapes and like outdoors and nature and stuff. Like it just brings me like happy thoughts. Like it makes me feel good, basically. It's like real relaxed. It's nothing crazy. It's like just real mellow. Something you could kind of like put in the background and like just like space out and like, work on stuff. I feel like, but I really liked it. A lot of the songs I liked. I'm also gonna butcher the songs. I don't know the pronunciation to any of them. My favorite was probably Olsen Olsen. I really like that song. Um, a lot of these songs too are like kind of long. They're like 7-8 minutes each, or not each, but some of them. But Olsen Olsen, definitely one of my more favorite ones. I kept coming back to that one specifically out of this album. But yeah, no, real great album. It makes me like real relaxed, real like mellowed out. It's something I definitely throw on just to like relax and like settle down for a little bit. But yeah, great stuff.
I think it's really like they create like a really nice atmosphere, and yeah, it's just like the whole vibe of it is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can echo the sentiments of the other guys. You know, this is it's a deep, heavy project, and not heavy in the sense of like, you know, music sounding. It's just there's so much to dissect and go on, and all of these songs are so long. The second song on this is fucking 10 minutes long, dude. Like, and so every single song, like one of the first things I wrote was every song is a musical journey in and of itself. And you know, there's sometimes where there won't really be like any drum beats until 6.5 minutes into the song, and you don't really hear the singer's true voice until like the fourth song in. You know, it's all like very in the background, kind of muted, and then on the fourth track you actually get to hear like clean raw vocals from him, which is incredible. I really liked this album. I was making jerky this week, and I put it on, and I got like 3 songs in, and I was like, I actually feel like I'm not doing this justice. I'm gonna have to sit down and listen to it as well. And so I I got like 4 tracks in and was like, all right, I'm gonna have to listen to this all again tomorrow to really feel, you know, like really feel it and hear it truly. Uh yeah, man. I had recognized the name Sigur Ros, but it's one of those things, you know, where you see him like on a festival lineup, or you know, see someone talk about him, and if you don't listen to them, you don't know what the hell they sound like. Like this is nowhere near what I thought that they were going to sound like, and I really liked this. As you guys know, I'm a big Tool fan, and their songs are massively long too. So about halfway through, I was like, oh shit, this is like Tool length songs. I kind of like that, you know. But man, fantastic pick.
It's a well-rounded album too. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look into the album anymore, but they did a video for track 2, which is probably the most prominent song on that album. And in the video, there was a group of Icelandic. There was like an acting troupe from Iceland, and they all have Down syndrome. And so the video they shot was basically all those actors kind of in this landscape, just kind of dancing and stuff. But the music video and that song is pretty powerful when you watch it. You're like, fuck, man. Music moves you in so many different ways. And the drumming, the drumming is pretty spectacular. A little side fact, the drummer that was on this album and most of the Sigur Ros albums isn't with the band anymore because of some background noise that he had to deal with. But man, he's just amazing. The way the drums just feel like they bring that song up to like an epic conclusion, or they start it off really slow and it just builds over time and over time. And so the drummer combining that with Jonesy, who's the lead vocalist, his voice is very dynamic. His range is so, it's out there. He goes from that high pitch to that kind of melodic, you can sing to it. He's also got some solo stuff where he sings in English, where you can actually kind of hear his voice a little bit more, which is kind of fun to listen to. Standout tracks for me would be track 2. I'm going to go off with numbers instead of trying to pronounce the names. Track 7, Olsen, which is track 8. And then the title track, it's just, that's one of the, I think it's the second to last song on that album, but the guitar in that, the kind of the acoustic melodic guitar in that song, it's just very calming. And I think that's the overall atmosphere for that whole album. It's very calming. You can sit down and listen to it. Like Jacob said, you can meditate to it. You can sit there and cook to it. Like Dorian said, you can sit there and just listen to it. For me, it's just one of those albums that'll, always be a part of me, basically because it's on me forever.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you guys liked it too. And some of those songs are pretty long, but once you get into them, you kind of dissect them and you appreciate them for what they are.
Yeah, I think that's a cool thing that we've talked about in the past about music. That like even we like maybe can't pronounce this flawlessly, or maybe we like don't understand what they're saying or whatever. But music has its own language that it doesn't need to specifically be words. It's just like how it sounds, how it all comes together as like a band or as an artist that puts out music. So that's what's unique about this album. Like I have no idea what is being said on some of the tracks, most of the tracks, probably all of them. but I understand anyways. Like still, like I feel like I could put it in my own words, like how I feel about it, basically, just for like how it moves me and stuff. So that's badass. I love that we're like getting more into also like world music, like just from different parts of the world, because that also just kind of shows like what other regions are doing and like what they sound like. But yeah, no, this is really cool, pretty badass, and the album cover is pretty dope too. I don't know, it's like an alien. It looks like a little baby alien, with like the umbilical cord and stuff. It's pretty badass, but yeah, it was fucking dope. I got some more to say for sure, but what we else got?
It's a really this is like a album that I would like to listen to if like I'm on a road trip or something. I feel like that's really because you're just in your lane literally, and you got to listen to this with a peace of mind and a quiet mind and be able to listen to this. The second to last song, or Aegtis, byrjun. That song, the vocals on that song, wow. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I think that was probably my favorite. And then Avalon, because of the whole cinematic type of thing. I think this is a song that I'm going to use for a video now. So I'm excited to do that. And then also the second song was pretty epic. I do like that, Dorian, you kind of said that like the drums don't come into later. There's definitely like a build up to almost every song, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and to kind of go back to what Matt said about the drumming on it, and Matt, I think you might remember this guy. Do you remember Josh Freese, the drummer that played with a Perfect Circle for a while? The drumming is very similar to me, in my opinion. And one of my favorite song off the album is Knee Battery. that song where it takes like 4 minutes before the drums kick in, but it's just like they come in and there's no announcing that they're there. They just fucking come in, and it's very just like simple but powerful, and they mixed it perfectly to where the drums are kind of overpowering, but then the rest of the song just goes insane. And like I've got chills on my legs thinking about this right now. Like, God damn. Oh man, it's one of those, like Jacob had said, we talked about Buena Vista Social Club, and I can talk shit in Spanish, but I can't do shit else. And I resonate. Like, I went and fucking bought Buena Vista Social Club on vinyl, and I'm probably going to do the same with this because it is a great album. It's like one of those things, I think in everybody's record collection, if you're listening to this and you're going to get into collecting, have multiple genres, and especially something that you can put on as like a nice night mood kind of thing. And I need a couple more of those, so I'm probably gonna try to seek this out. It really just takes you places, and I was literally speechless. Like, I was sitting here trying to figure out what to write about it, and I was like, fuck, I can't even put pen to pad and make notes about this. It's just surreal.
I think you summed it up perfectly right there. It takes you places. like it visually takes me somewhere else. Definitely not here. Well, I don't want to say that, but it takes you places.
It does. What's unique about the album too is, Jonesy, the lead singer, guitar player, he takes kind of a page, not from Led Zeppelin, but he takes a bow and he's playing a bow on his guitar. That's where you're getting all those weird feedback sounds. He's got a bow and he's just going up and down on the guitar, and that's where you're getting all that weird shit.
All right,
for somebody to do that with a guitar and make it sound good, I've tried it myself. It's not easy. Like, I don't know how he did it, but it was just very unique for that time. That album came out in 1999, I believe. Just nobody's doing that. There's no other artist or guitar player that's doing that besides Jimmy Page back in the day, and he probably doesn't do it anymore. So it was just a way to create a new sound, and it was unique in a sense.
And that one shitbird from Whitesnake.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, good stuff, man. It was a good album, dude. If I hadn't heard from you, like I said, I wouldn't have seeked this out or even found out about this. But yeah, as far as like my favorite tracks, my favorite one is Olsen Olsen, and then the second track, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
I'm gonna butcher it, and it's like not doing it justice. But then the other song that I really liked was Nai Battery, I think. It's the fifth song on the track list. Also really good songs. But yeah, like looking at even like just on like an artist standpoint, they have like a lot of streams on this album and like a lot of songs on there. So it kind of surprised me. I was like, how have I not heard of this, And how are like 30 million other people like listening to this and I'm not? But yeah, man, great stuff. Thanks for putting me on this, and I'm definitely going to be returning back to this album. So,
heck yeah. And one little side piece of information that I'll share. I've seen this band a few times live, and the one time that I'll remember seeing them was at the Hollywood Bowl in LA, and it was raining, and they hadn't come on yet, and like right when they came on, like they started off like with an intro to one of their albums, and it was like the atmosphere was just so perfect. It was like a movie. You're just watching it unfold. One of those surreal moments that you always remember. So it's that kind of band. They just create that atmosphere, and you just kind of sit back and take it for what it is, and you all have your own experience. And I'm glad you guys all enjoyed it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Thanks, bro. Because now I got to use one of their songs for a video.
Yeah, I would say my top 3 songs on it are, I already mentioned Nai Battery or whatever, Sveffen G. Anglar, and then Olsen Olsen. Those are my top 3. Just fantastic. And that's the thing is, it's one of those like albums that you don't necessarily have to start from the beginning, because of like, if you want to listen to any song off of this, you could, just because, like I said, they're just in their own right, just so beautiful. And such a crazy journey they go through.
I also wanted to mention too, like even though this came out in 1999, me just barely discovering this because of you, like this album could have came out yesterday. Like it sounds new, so I can only imagine in 1999, like how like crazy this must have sounded to new listeners and stuff like that. So I think that was pretty interesting to hear that something so old can sound new.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What were your
I
top?
might have said my. So Aegtis byrjun, the second to last, and then Avalon, the last one, and then the second song. Those are my top three.
Yeah. Great picks too.
Yeah.
Well, does anyone have any thoughts to wrap up Sigur Ros? No? Alrighty. Right on. I'm gonna just pop off a camera for 3 seconds. Alrighty. Well, we just wrapped up Matt's album by Sigur Ros. And we're gonna move right into Jake's. What did you have for us this week, pal?
Yeah, so my album this week was Kikagaku Moyo with Masana Temples. It's some Japanese music. It kind of falls into like psychedelic rock, you could say, and then also like some other like off-brand like genres as it goes. But yeah, this came out in 2018. It's their fourth album. Yeah, it's some good stuff, man. It's initially I heard about these guys through like during COVID. I was I forget what I was doing, but I was like looking at a live stream of like a music festival, and Khruangbin was up next. Okay, like I fucking love Khruangbin. I'm gonna see their show, just like on the live stream. And these guys opened for Khruangbin, and I like the lights were like it was like dark, and I just saw like people with like long hair, and I was like, okay, so it's like Khruangbin basically. But and then it was just like a bunch of like these like Japanese dudes with like just long ass hair, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is different. This is not Khruangbin. But then they started playing music, and then like they started going into their show, and man, yeah, it like really caught my eye. I was like, I've never heard of this. I was like initially looking for this, but I found this instead. But yeah, ever since then, I've been listening to their stuff. Thankfully, the other day that I walked into the record store, they had this. Shout out Cali, it's always got banging ass stuff. And found that, so I was like, hell yeah, like I'm gonna take it. I've been listening to it nonstop. But yeah, what did you guys have to say? It's definitely something different.
For me, I was just like, holy cow, after listening to it. It's just dynamic from start to finish. It opens up with that sitar-like sound. It just kind of draws you in and flows in the dripping sun. And it's just like the structural changes in the music throughout each track. It reminded me, and I like to compare bands a lot, but like it reminded me of like Iron and Wine meets, Dead Can Dance. Like it was just very surreal. And it just, they have their own sound, and some of their tracks are very slow and kind of melodic, and some are just like jam based, and you're just like, you can just go from each track knowing that. It's a lot of fun to listen to. I'd never heard them before. Great song structures. Just a real fun band to listen to. I enjoyed it. So thank you for bringing this up, because I kind of dove into their back catalog after hearing this album, and it's just like it's even more ambient and like instrumental, and like it's just cool stuff. It's something you can just put in and just listen to, like you said, drive-in or just anything. So very cool pick.
I think you summed it up pretty nicely there. I think it's a very fun album. There's a lot of changes and everything. Like you said, there's like fast-paced songs and there's slower, like mellow songs. Sister from Another Mother, she reminds me of the singer in Stereolab, because they have like a couple of slow songs, so it just reminded me of her. I found out about this band through my friend Bobby. Shout out to Bobby. He sent me the song Dripping Sun, and when I heard this, I was like, huh? Like, what? It was something so different. Thank you for bringing this up, because, dude, I didn't even, like, listen to the album. I just heard that song and saved it and just looked away. I don't think I see color, but if I did, visually, I would describe this album as very pretty. I don't know why. It's just like there's really cool things about it that I really enjoy. I think this album for sure is gonna stick with me for a while. I'm glad that you brought it up recently, just because now I have all summer to sit and listen to this. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, this was like you had sent us a Snapchat of you listening to it, Jake, and I was like, oh, okay, like that's interesting sounding. Like I would be sorry, I was like I would be really down to give that an actual deep dive. And my God, dude. And I went and looked them up, and they said when they started out, like they didn't really know their ass from a fucking hole in the ground when it came to their instrument. And I was like shit, could have fooled me, man.
Yeah,
like because
yeah.
like the guitar work on it is incredible. Like what song is it? Like Gatherings, that song.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's like a guitar solo at the end of Nazo Nazo, and the guy is just destroyed. Like he's just shredding. And I was like, you're telling me you didn't know how to play this instrument? Like you're full of crap, man. Like what the hell?
Yeah.
But no, I love stuff like this because it's funny that you found them from a Karangbin video, because that was my first kind of mental. I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see the similarities there. It's like I love bands that are like this, where they have song structure, but they do kind of, like you said, Matt, they have like a really big jam band kind of feel to them. Not as like crazy as like Grateful Dead back in the day, but more cohesive, and people are really expanding with their instrument. And so just gnarly pick, dude, for real. This is a banger. Like Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Talk about world like music. This is up there with Buena Vista, dude. Like, wow.
Yeah, it's cool because like when they started out, like they were just like college kids, and it was initially, I think, the drummer and then one of the guitarists. And initially they didn't know what they were doing, but they wanted to make music, so they like put out flyers and like handed out like flyers to random people at their university, like telling them like, hey, if you want to like join a band, like come play with us. And then like little by little they started getting like more people, and then eventually they like got into like a tight knit group that was like just like I think it's like 5 of them or something. But yeah, man, initially they weren't huge. Like initially the thing about like Japan, like the culture, like it's kind of not so much as it is strict, but it's like it's all very like kind of in order, and people like usually just like follow the rules. So them like making this kind of music, and initially like it was hard for them to get gigs because it was expensive to rent out shows. So it made it hard for them to really like actually start like getting their footing and starting getting more recognition. Because when they would have shows, they used to like sell tickets for $5, and they'd like tell people to meet somewhere like at a park or something. But mainly the people that would go to those shows would be like foreigners, because like all the city people and like all the country like people, they weren't going because it was kind of like out of the norm, basically. But once they actually started touring and once they actually like got out of Japan, that's when they actually really started blowing up. They started back in like 2012, 2013, around there. So they've been around for a couple of years now. But yeah, it's interesting. Over the last couple albums, and even more recently, they dropped one last month, which is rumored to be their last album or whatever. I hope not. But yeah, how their sound has just kind of like just developed over time. The drummer, he's really good. The yeah, we mentioned the sitarist, that guitar. It gives that like kind of like Indian like kind of music kind of vibe, you know, like it's like real, like especially on the intro song, you hear it a lot, and then throughout the album, on other songs. But yeah, man, it's real interesting. It's something real neat. Another thing I definitely wanted to bring up, the artwork to the album is really cool. It's like very like it's very like classic and like the Japanese style like painting and stuff. And like culturally, it looks really cool. Even like the inner sleeve of it, it has like a bunch of like different like paintings and stuff, and it's kind of like two-sided, so it like goes back and forth to like a bunch of dragons and like monkeys and lions and stuff. I was just staring at this like the whole time that I was like listening to the album. But yeah, man, it's some real crazy stuff, some real unique stuff. So I'm glad we could definitely listen to it and talk about it because yeah, it was something that really caught my attention.
It was hard to pick my favorite tracks for sure on this album. Like Dorian said earlier, gatherings. Like there's so many different styles of music in that song. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album. Orange Peel had like a shoegazer kind of feel, like kind of that 90s like ambient guitar sound, but it was just so good as a song together. The Blanket song, that guitar opening on that song is just incredible. And then Maju Pose, just because I can hear that lyric in there a lot, and that was fun to sing along to. Great feel. Another reason I wore this hoodie was because of the album cover. I was like, it's a good match for the album cover. So
Yeah.
Great pick, Jacob. Great pick.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude, this album freaking rocks. Sorry, Dorian.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say because Matt had just said it. Blanket song threw me for a loop because I wasn't expecting that acoustic start off to it, and especially since it's like at the end, I was like, oh damn, all right, so they really are they're branching the hell out right now. But what were you about to say, George?
No, I was gonna mention my top three, but yeah. So Orange Peel, the name of the song, already like pulled me in like immediately. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, Orange Peel. And I listened to it, and it's so melodic and like it's so good. Gatherings too is awesome. I really like Fluffy Cosmish. I feel like that one's kind of like fun to ride my bike to. But I think what was the song? I think it's Oh My God Dory. The really slow like no words song. I'm not saying I want kids, but if I had a kid and this baby needs to sleep, I'm gonna play that song. I feel like it's kind of a cute song, I feel like. But yeah, I think I do want to pick a song, but I have to pick Orange Peel, Amayadori, and Fluffy Cosmish, or Cosmish, however you pronounce it.
I really like Majupos, however you pronounce that. It gives me a lot of like feel good by the Gorillas. It gives me a lot of that vibe, like because you hear like the bass on the Gorilla song, and it's kind of like similar to the bass line on that song, which I thought was real cool, real interesting. Um, yeah, Gatherings kind of is a little bit more of the like I guess you could say if you want to put it like it's kind of like a little bit crazier of a song on the album, but man, that song is is badass too. Like the guitar that's on it, and you could tell like they're like definitely going out of like their way to make it sound like a lot more like hard and like hardcore. Um, but yeah, man, a lot of these songs super good. Dripping Sun, that was the first song that like I had heard of them, and that song it goes like it starts off real slow, and then it kicks in with the drums, and then you hear the guitar, and then it slows down again, and then it picks up. It keeps going like it's like switching its levels, like it's like going up, and then it goes back down, and it settles, and then it goes back up. It's real cool that they're able to just like, even when I was looking at the show, and even like was doing my research, I usually like to like see how the bands perform live, and you could tell a lot of some of their stuff is like improvised. Like they're just going and they'll add in like a couple things here and there, and like or like the drummer he'll drum a little bit harder on like this beat. So it's really cool that they're able to do that like as musicians, like just kind of freely like feel it out and just like go with the vibe how they're playing. Um, and yeah, blanket songs for some reason I don't know why, but like every time that I hear it, it like gives me like Johnny Cash vibe for some reason, like just with like the acoustics and like how it sounds. Um, but yeah, if I had to pick a top three on this album, uh, definitely tricky for me and it's hard for me. But I'm going Nana. Really like that song. Uh, Dripping Sun, because that song is amazing. Definitely one of my favorite songs. And Gathering, just because like how crazy it is and how like unique it is on as a song on the album. But yeah, some great stuff. Fantastic album. What were you guys' top three?
Yeah, my my top three off of it, and I had this decided, like I did my notes a couple days ago, but as I'm going back through and like actually remembering, I could easily make a different top three, but I'll just go with what I wrote. Honorable mention song was Gatherings for me, just because of the like how it is musically, because it's it's very well put together and all that. So Gatherings was an honorable mention, but number three was Orange Peel. Number two, Fluffy Cosmiche. George and I basically have the same three, and then my number one was Dripping Sun, just because I had listened to. I did like foreign American for like the albums this week when I went and sat down and did my notes, and that was like the first thing I heard, and I was like, ah, shit, this is like a long ass song, just like off of Sigur Ros, and it just takes you away. It feels like I'm like flying through a cityscape like fucking Superman, dude. I was just like, man, this is like it was yeah. It's another album that just like, you can just put it on and it's great. Like, George kind of said it, like this is definitely kind of a summer vibe kind of album. No matter how you slice it. It's very it just makes me feel good. Like it's serotonin essentially in musical form. And
Fact.
and I love that. And so great pick, man. This automatically got saved to the whole album got saved in my Spotify. So I'm definitely going to come back to this. And who the hell knows? Maybe I'll keep an eye out for it too. Alrighty. So we just wrapped up Masana Temples, Jake's pick for this week, and we're going to dive right into mine after now. And my pick was People Who Can Eat People Are the Luckiest People in the World by AJJ.
And I've tried to find the notes to make that great resounding din, but there's a bad man in everyone, no matter who we are. There's a rapist and a Nazi living in our tiny hearts, child pornographers and cannibals and politicians too. There's someone in your head waiting to fucking strangle you. So here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. People love you more, oh never mind.
I love that album title.
Yeah.
AJJ, just a quick little thing. Their name used to be Andrew Jackson Jihad, but because the name was long, their fan base has referred to them as AJJ for so long. And then back in, I think it was 2016 or 17, they realized that they didn't really align with the full name anymore. Andrew Jackson or the Jihad reference. And so they just said, screw it. We're just going to go by AJJ because that's what everyone calls us anyway. So screw it. Album came out in 2007. great folk punk music. Nice, short, sweet, but by God, is it powerful. One of my favorite albums of all time, actually, has there's a couple songs on there, one of which is probably in my top 10 songs of all time, in my opinion. But what did y'all have to say about it?
Man, like you said, short,
Uh,
sweet, 25 minutes, 22 seconds. Jeez, just a powerhouse. First off, the songwriting, some dark stuff in there. Some of it threw me off. I had to like rewind it and be like, did I hear that lyric right? Especially on the track Bad Bad Things, I think is what it was called. I rewound that song again. I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? Very unique, fun songwriting style. I enjoy the use of guitar styles with acoustic to electric. So they had the slide guitar in there, which is really cool to hear that. This is the first intro to me for this band. So it was a fun album, very short, very quick, but very to the point. Like I felt like it was, it kind of built up into like the songwriting style was just very like, it was just very unique in the way they laid the whole album out. So it was a fun project and very unique. I liked it.
No, well said. I think I'm kind of on the same page. At first, I will admit, at first, this kind of was hard for me to get into. Because I'm a big beat guy, and like if I hear like drums or like a bass line or something, like I can already like, you know, like bob my head to it and like tap my foot to it or something. But this was kind of hard for me to get into at first. But hearing it over and it being so short, I heard this album over like probably like 5-10 times. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. Pretty funny. The lyrics, I keep coming back to the lyrics. So the lyrics are pretty fucking hilarious. In People Lie, The Reckoning, the lyrics to that song, that's probably my favorite song on the album. But the lyrics to it are real funny. Yeah, man, some of the lyrics had me, like Matt said, like coming, like I was like, wait, did he really just say that? Because he was like, I'm just reading the lyrics right now. It's like pretty funny, but yeah, the lyrics more than anything had me coming back to it, and the album title is fucking awesome. And it like for it to have the album title and it's just like a picture of like this cute rabbit that's like sitting in the like clouds. But yeah, it was some good stuff. Yeah, I got a little bit more to say, but what do you think about it, George?
So I don't consider myself a religious person. I do consider myself a spiritual person, I guess you could say. There's a lot of positive things on this album, like the song People. Again, yeah, like the writing, the songwriting, like the lyrics are so awesome and it's like really powerful. I wanted to mention the singer sounds a lot like the singer on this band, Neutral Milk Hotel. I don't know if you guys know that, but he sounds a lot like, well, there's only one song that I listen to from them, but he reminded me of him. But yeah, the song People, it's very like, there was a time where I was like, oh, I hate people, whatever, you know, but this is like, no, I love people. People are wasteful, they waste all the food, people are hateful, and people are rude. But God, I love some people sometimes because people are very, very special. And people are impatient, they don't know how to wait, people are selfish, people are prone to hate. But God, I love some people sometimes. That's so awesome for him to, like, you know, say stuff like that. And even on this song, he's like, because people are the greatest thing to happen. People are people regardless of skin. People are people regardless of creed. People are people regardless of gender. People are people regardless of anything. People are my religion because I believe in them. Wow, dude, talk about powerful. Holy shit, dude. And it was initially pretty hard for me to get into it because, like you said, Jacob, I'm on the same page. you know, but it was the lyrics that did it for me. I was just like, damn, dude, like that's the level of passion and love that sometimes you don't really hear in music anymore. And I feel like he was just kind of saying it with all of his heart. And that's really, really, like, I love that. God, I love people sometimes.
Yeah, this this was a group that I was introduced to by my buddy Patrick from high school. Shout out Patrick, Morpheus, as I like to call him. He is super into this whole genre, folk punk, and he actually got me another one of their albums for my birthday on vinyl many years ago, like fucking 5 years ago, called Knife Man, and I love that album, but this is my favorite by them so far, or by far. And it's like People to the Reckoning, I think is what the title is, but they on Spotify, they didn't make the other I capitalized, so it looks like People Lee or People Lie.
People lie. I was like, oh, weird.
Yeah, no, it is. It still throws me off too, but that is in my top 10 songs of all time. He and I used to he was brewing moonshine in his apartment in downtown, and we would stay up late and jam that song on acoustic guitars at 12 a.m. Just be absolute nuisances to society. And we went to go see. We made plans to drive up to Portland and see Sean Bonnet, their singer. He had a solo gig up there. And Patrick had seen AJJ a handful of times, and he was like, "We don't have to pre-buy tickets. We'll be fucking fine." And I said, "All right, well, let's just go. Let's just go." And we're literally getting into Portland, and I pull up the Facebook page, and the first 5 posts are the show is sold out. And so we drove all the way to Portland from Eugene just to get a McChicken, basically. We went to we just went to McDonald's and called it. I was like, let's just go back and jam, dude. Screw this. But yeah, it's just this entire album. I can sit there and play it and just sing along to every word on it. It's, like I said, one of my favorite albums of all time. And just the things that he says are very thought provoking. And yes, you do have to rewind and be like, wait, what the hell did he just say? But it really makes you think and reflect on. And it's crazy that it came out 15 years ago, because I was listening to this multiple times this week, and I was like, some of these lyrics are still very pertinent and relevant even in today's society. And one cool thing that Sean Bonnet did during the pandemic, it was every week for a year and a half, he would do live sessions from his house and would either do covers or his original stuff with AJJ. And they're just an incredible group. There's really only 2. There's Sean Bonnet, the singer and the main guitarist, and then they have an upright bassist, and then the other musicians just kind of rotate through it in the background. But yeah, easily, I've said, just I'm so in love with this album. My top 3, number 3 would be Bad Bad Things. Number 2 would be a song dedicated to the memory of Stormy the Rabbit, which is the rabbit that's on the album cover. It was one of their friends' rabbits from when the band started out. And then number 1 is People to the Reckoning, just because anytime I pull out my guitar, that's the first thing I do just to warm up, just a yeah. And but yeah, also, if you're in the Eugene area, they are coming to town August 23rd. It will have been just almost 15 years since this album came out. So my gut feeling and my hope is that they'll play most of they'll play most of this album. But yeah, those are basically my final thoughts on it. I got to stop myself because I could just geek out about this album until sundown.
Dude, that's how I feel too, man. I mean, what you were saying, Matt, with the crazy, because there is the positive stuff, but there's also the negative stuff, brave as a noun. Man, dude, what he says on there is crazy. But then also you got songs like Rejoice, where it's just I feel like he comes in and what he says is realistic. It's not out there. It's not far-fetched. This is really how people think sometimes. And yeah, I think it's just really important for to highlight that, I guess. But my top three, definitely People, Brave as a Noun, and Rejoice. Those are my top three.
Yeah.
Also, this is something that I kind of want to listen to if I'm like going camping or something.
Yeah, I feel like this is something that like if I had still been playing guitar, I would have definitely wanted to keep like trying this on guitar because it does seem very fun. But yeah, People 2, The Reckoning is probably my favorite song on this album. I wanted to talk about Survival Song, just because the lyrics, like he's talking about all this stuff that he like went through and like all this pain and suffering and whatever. And then at the end of the song, he was just kind of like, oh, well, I just kind of gave you guys all bullshit. So it's like not all real. I thought it was pretty fucking hilarious. That, and then there was another song for the lyrics that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, a lot of these songs, like the lyrics to them, like it's real thought out. And like, I feel like he definitely knew what he was doing when he was doing this. But yeah, People 2, The Reckoning. I really liked Brave as a Noun also. That's up there, but I still like the other one better, The Reckoning. So People 2, The Reckoning, Brave as a Noun, and then give me Randy's House because I really liked Randy's House too.
Good try.
But yeah, this is one of those. I feel like even genres that I don't listen to a whole lot, just because it's kind of out of my box that I usually go towards. But yeah, man, thanks for bringing it up. I'm gonna keep looking into this, into this group because yeah, it's definitely something different that I haven't been used to.
If you're gonna check out another album by them, look into Knife Man. It's not as like I feel like a lot of the songs on People Who Can Eat People they're pretty fast paced. Knife Man came out in 2011, I want to say, and it still has like the deep lyrical content, but it's the music is also deeper, if that makes sense. And if you guys are interested in knowing any more bands from this genre, feel free to let me know. I'll send you guys some. There's some great bands like Wingnut Dishwashers Union, Ramshackle Glory. Yeah, there's a lot of great bands in this genre that are just, and it's very interesting, kind of eclectic kind of music. But this is like my summer vibes. I play a lot of this kind of music during the summer. So yeah, one last thing I want to mention about it is Sean Bonnet's strumming pattern. Whenever like you listen to the acoustic and he's just beating the hell out of it, he doesn't use a pick and he literally just strums like just crazy. I sent Matt a live video. I don't know if I sent y'all, but I'll send it to you guys too of him doing. It's him doing Brave as a Noun and Survival Song. And he goes insane. So I'll send that to you guys.
You did send it, and I did watch it, and goddamn, that looked like it hurt because he's just like going, like keeps going. I feel like it's like fingers are like shredded after it because he's just like nonstop.
Yeah, and his wrist motion, like the way he strums, is so hard to get down. That's why, like me and my homie, we only played like 2 songs of theirs because they were just like the simplest ones as far as like how to play them goes.
Yeah, no, I know. I used to play guitar, and it was hard to play like without a pick. I felt like, and seeing him do it on that that video that I saw, and him like just strumming it, it looked like it hurt after a while. I don't know how he did it, but yeah, it was real cool, real different, real interesting. So thank you.
What were your top 3, Matt?
I gotta go with the opening track, Rejoice. It's a great opening track. It just sets the tone for the whole album. You know, it gives that positive light, but also that kind of dark implement, and it just sets the tone for the album. Bells and Whistles is probably my favorite track, just for the uniqueness of that song. And then I think we're all going back to Bad Things, and then People 2, The Reckoning, because I think those are 2 standout tracks that we both, or that all of us like. Just a great album. It's hard to kind of pinpoint those 3, but Rejoice, Bells and Whistles, and then Bad Things are my top 3.
Hell yeah. I'm really glad y'all like this. This is when Matt and I were talking before last week's episode. He was like, man, I'm really fucking nervous. I don't know what you guys are going to think about my album. And then he dropped Sigur Ros and we all loved it. And then I was telling him the same thing. I was like, hey man, I'm in the same boat as you. I got some weird shit too. But do we have any final thoughts for AJJ?
Yeah, I think we should take a Whatchu Spinnin field trip and go watch them.
We
watch
should.
them a lot. I feel like
That'd be
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
my buddy Patrick doesn't live in Eugene anymore. He's kind of like all out and about. But as soon as I saw that tour date, I messaged him and he's like, "I'm gonna be in town. I'll be there." And I think my whole house is gonna go. So let's just pack that bitch out.
Yeah, dude, that'd be really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be a blast.
Absolutely. Well, do we want to take a quick break before we dive into George's, or do you just want to dive in?
Cool.
I'll be right back just real quick. Just going to check on something. Alrighty. Well, since we just wrapped up AJJ, People Who Can Eat People, my pick for this week, we're going to dive into George's now. What did you have for us, mon frere?
KC and the Sunshine Band, their self-titled album, their first one.
I wanna put on my boogie shoes, just run with you.
Boogie down, boogie down.
I wanna put on my boogie shoes, just run with you.
It's a groove. This is something like if I ever feel bad or I'm in a shitty mood, if I listen to this, I feel great. Like I feel good. Definitely puts me in a happy state. One of my brothers, Philip, I remember he told me that there is a song on this album. I think it was I Get Lifted. I would just dance to it in the living room. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I'm like, but yeah, it's a really good album. What do you guys think about it? Very curious to see or to hear.
I mean, dude, want to talk about classic and not only classic but historical and iconic. This is I feel like it's one of those albums. I did not know this was their debut album. That's pretty dope. But the fact that it is their first album, shit, I think that says a lot because that's yeah, it's some good stuff. A lot of their stuff has been all over commercials and movies. One of the songs that I think about a lot, and when I was listening to this album, Get Down Tonight, it threw me back to the first time watching Forrest Gump. That's immediately what I thought of. But yeah, man, it's iconic. I feel it's for it to come out so long ago and it's still being played in commercials and movies and you hear it all over stores that you go to sometimes. It really is an iconic group and in a band, and this album too. It was so good for its time. So
Yeah, to piggyback on Jacob, this is a classic album. We all know those songs, from the second track to the fourth track. Those are all songs that we've, grown up and listened to. It's got a unique flow. They get funky. It's that classic funk kind of music where their musical styles are very prone to that 70s sound. You hear it and you know that's Casey and the Sunshine Band. There was a lot of songs on this album that I'd never heard before. Some of the later tracks because I'd never heard this album in its entirety. And I found new songs that I love now that I like over any of the popular songs now. And so hearing this album was just a great introduction for me to kind of dive into their catalog. It'd be nice to find a copy of this on vinyl. That might be kind of hard to find a good copy of it, but that'd be a fun one to find. But just a great album, start to finish. You can't argue it's a classic because there's 6 or 7 tracks on there that are just radio friendly tracks for the rest of the world, to hear throughout time. So great pick, George. Great pick.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I didn't realize also that this was their debut, and I didn't realize that it had, the just absolute just fantastic. You know, the songs that we hear all the time, you know, Boogie Shoes, Get Down Tonight. I didn't realize all of those were on one album, which is like, I feel like enough can't be said about that. You know what I mean? Like, it was 1975. Like, all of those songs are on one album. I mean, come on, man. Like, when you, like, in 1975, you know, there was a lot. I feel like that was when you look at like music waves and stuff and like shifts, like Aerosmith was getting huge, and so classic rock was like really starting to take off, but there was also this like underlying funk movement, and Casey and the Sunshine Band were like really kind of the guys beating the drum at the front of the charge for that. And it's, yeah, just like the fact that it had that many great tracks on it, even like Matt said, like I completely agree. Like, the later songs on it I love almost more than the ones that are, you know, the most popular. So I agree, man. Fantastic pick.
Thanks, man. So. Also, I want to mention, like, at this point in time, um, rock was still kind of like a thing, and then you have this like funk mixed with rock and disco. And during this time period, there was a lot of how do I say it, like turmoil between the two different groups and genres. Like, they hated the fact that disco was mixed with rock. This group didn't like this group, and boy, did they fucking drop a banger, because like they mixed both elements very well. It is more disco heavy. But yeah, I mean, and then also I Get Lifted has been sampled throughout hip hop, and then also Ain't Nothing Wrong has been sampled by I'm forgetting their name right now, but another rap group. They just straight up just bit the song off and then just rapped over it. So that's cool to see, you know, that people are using it. Yeah, dude, I have so many fond memories of this album. Like, I just always remember like listening to it, and Boogie Shoes is a song that you definitely hear in commercials. Like, you always hear it on a happy, you know, like setting or whatever.
Yeah. As soon as that trumpet kicks in, you know. Yeah. That. I was like, yeah, all right, I know this.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, because I was talking to someone yesterday, I was at the O Bar, and I started talking about Casey and Sunshine Band, and he's like, oh, I don't know who that is. I'm like, no, you know. And he was like, no. He's like, I don't. I'm like, okay, listen to this. So I put on Boogie Shoes, and immediately he was like, oh, he's like, yeah, I know this song. And I'm like, dude, there's not a single person that doesn't know this song. So I think it's cool to, like, everybody knows that. They might not know the band name, but they are familiar with it. And I feel like that's a very important, like, impactful thing. Yeah, I mean, the lyrics too, like, Ain't Nothing Wrong, is such a sweet, beautiful song. He's like, you know, ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of love. And yeah, Boogie Shoes, for example, like, that's one of my favorite songs to play when I'm cooking food. I put that on, bro, I'm like feeling good. I have my beer, I'm cutting up food. Like, Boogie Shoes is definitely like one of my favorite songs off of this track. But I'm glad you guys liked it, man. I'm really, really happy you guys did.
Yeah, I'll just admit something real quick. When you said Casey and the Sunshine Band, I was kind of like that guy at the O Bar, you know. I had heard the band name, but I could not tell you any of the songs. So when I was listening to this and like Get Down Tonight, I was like, oh my God, is this who this is? Because when you said Casey and the Sunshine Band, I thought of Walking on Sunshine, and I was like, oh, okay, like I know Walking. I was like, I know Walking on Sunshine,
yeah.
like, and then I opened it up and I was like, wait, Walking on Sunshine ain't on this fucking album. What the hell? And then I started listening to it and I was like, oh, this is them. Okay. Like, and so yeah, like my brain just exploded and I was like, ah, Jesus Christ. Okay. But yeah, just to mention that. I thought it was it. I
Walking
thought
on
that was
sunshine.
hilarious. Yeah, and like to me, like I agree with you. Where like this, you can't put this album on and not at least like jive, shake your shoulders a little
Yeah,
bit,
it's like
feel good. And it's got such a swagger to it because it is that early funk sound and it does have that blend of disco in it and everything, and it's just got a swagger. Like if I'm gonna listen to this and I'm walking down the street, I'm gonna be walking like I'm big pimping, you know what I mean? Just
gotta
like
live that. Yeah, dude,
I
it's
feel like it's one of those albums that like it comes up like so often and so much that everyone has heard it like in any setting. Like if you want to talk about like football games or anything, like any sports games or like commercials, or if you even go to walk into a store, like you're more likely to like hear this like songs off this album. um, but even like the back end of the album, I hadn't heard some of these songs, like I Get Lifted and like Let It Go Part Two. I really liked Let It Go Part Two. It's like kind of a little bit more funky and like jazzy. It's not like they're not like singing a whole lot, but they're just like playing and just vibing, and it's like a lot of disco elements that you can hear on it. But yeah, it's definitely, I feel like one of those like classic like funky disco albums in the 70s, and it really is historical, and it's crazy how much that we like hear about it. And I feel like it's gotten to a point where we kind of just like zone out when we hear like songs off of this album, because we've like everyone has heard it so much. But yeah, I really like this album. The my favorite probably are Boogie Shoes, Get Down Tonight, and Let It Go Part Two as like kind of a different song that I hadn't heard from these guys. But the fact that it's all on the same album, like this album, it's pretty short as is. It's like what, like 20, 30 minutes long.
27.
But yeah, 27 minutes long. But like all of the songs on here are really good, like really, really good, and they really like stood the test of time of like still being classic songs. So
Yeah, to piggyback off Jacob, like the amount of the length of the album is very short, but it's like it's just to the point, and there's so many bangers on that album. And it also piggyback off Jacob. Let It Go Part Two, it's all instrumental, and that's like my favorite track because it's just like funky, and it kind of dives into the first track, Let It Go Part One, where it's kind of like they're singing and they're kind of getting the groove starting for the whole album, and to end it with that same style but all instrumental, just it was a good way to round out the album. So Let It Go Part Two, I Get Lifted, just because of that classic 70s funk guitar that you hear it and you're like, yep, you just know that genre. And then that's the way I like it, because that song's just classic and timeless.
Yeah. If I had to pick a top three, I like I was saying, like when I was listening to this, I was like, oh shit, these guys actually did all of these great, funk staple tracks that we've, heard for 40, almost 50 years at this point. But I fell in love with all the other stuff. So my favorite track off of this was What Makes You Happy. I really liked that. Just it was different, but it still had that same kind of energy, but it was also kind of like George was mentioning about what was that track you mentioned that was like kind of sweet? Like it's kind
Ain't
of
nothing wrong.
yeah, it's kind of got like the lyricism to it is like a little more heartfelt. And then number two, I Get Lifted, and then number three, I had to pick one of the bangers, so I went with Boogie Shoes too, just because like I was saying earlier, that trumpet intro, there's no mistaking what the hell that is. Like
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my top three is Boogie Shoes, Ain't Nothing Wrong, and I Get Lifted, just because that's probably like one of the more like low key gangster songs. Like that shit was hell.
Yeah.
So I fuck with that a lot. Yeah, especially on like the lyrics on Boogie Shoes and Ain't Nothing Wrong. Like it's sweet, but it's also like I'm macking on you, girl. Like, and I don't know, it's just tight as fuck. Like I think it's super cool. I think so. Back to talking about how we we all know these songs. It's very similar to like Celebration by Kool in the Gang. Everybody knows that song, but they might not know Kool in the Gang. Everybody knows September from Earth, Wind, and Fire, but maybe not not anybody knows Earth, Wind, and Fire. But it's kind of like in that same realm, you know what I mean? Yeah, I just wanted to mention that real quick. But yeah, I mean, those are my final thoughts. I'm glad you guys liked it, though.
Yeah, thank you, George. It's nice to dive into that album and hear it in its entirety. Very cool.
Yeah. It's definitely one, kind of like Matt said, that I would love to, because it is a staple album. You know, I want to get a physical of that for sure.
Mhm.
But do we have any other final thoughts for Casey and the Sunshine Band, boys? No?
I think
Alright.
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Just a refresher, dude, on the album, like how good it was.
Yeah, exactly. I'm probably gonna play this in the background while I do some editing later, you know, probably visit all these albums again just to
Yeah.
get myself pumped up while I'm going. With that being said, that was the self-titled album from Casey and the Sunshine Band. That was George's pick for this week. Let's go ahead and dive into what our picks for next week are going to be. And as per usual, we're going to go in order. Matt, what did you have for us, pal?
I'm gonna go with some Trent Reznor. We're gonna go with Nine Inch Nails, the Fragile album.
Ooh, okay,
Right.
nice. And then Jacob, what did you have?
Yeah, so this week I'm gonna go back to hip hop for a second, just for this album. I feel like it's important. So this is Elzai, 7 Times Down, 8 Times Up. Came out in 2020. Definitely one of my more favorite albums of that year. It's just some dope hip hop. So yeah.
Right on. And for mine, I'm going with Control by
Dude,
SZA.
I'm so glad you brought
Damn, bro.
One of my favorite albums. She actually just released a deluxe edition on Spotify. I just have the normal copy, so just look out for the normal version. It's spelled CTRL, Control by SZA. I'm very happy to talk about that album next week.
5 years, man. It's been 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Such an awesome pick, Dorian. Wow. So I trying to like stop talking about hip hop, but this is kind of like easing back into it a little bit. But I Just Want to Sing by Music Soundchild. It's an R&B album. Such a great album.
Right on. Right on. Those, I'm excited to.
Picks for next week, man.
Yeah.
Hectic as let's do it.
Yeah, and I don't think I've actually heard the Fragile. I've never heard that. Haven't heard yours or George's picks, Jacob, and I know that I'm in love with mine. But so yeah, I'm super stoked to talk about. I think this is a great lineup to go with next week, and then after that we'll be into the instrumental albums for episode 15. With all that, this has been Whatchu Spinnin' episode 13. As per usual, I'm Dorian, joined by Matt, Jacob, and George. Fellas, we knocked it out of the park once again this week. Viewers and listeners at home, we'll catch you next time. This is Whatchu Spinnin'.